that, my friends, is a Medieval. It's a retro FPS adventure in the vein of Hexen and Heretic. That's great for those who remember those games. I know I'm in danger of getting thrown out of the boomer shooter cool guys club, but I vaguely remember Hexen at my friend's house growing up. But I mostly just remember being lost. I don't think I ever played Heretic. Doesn't matter. I love this game in all of its retro glory. Any game dev at the time would have killed to have made their game look this glorious for sure. The shiny coat of paint on this retro style is 100% my jam. Let's talk gameplay. You start the game in some kind of temple and find several pathways offering you difficulty options. I chose the hard difficulty in spite of my casual scum ways. I did not regret this choice. I found this mode challenging enough but enjoyable. Keep in mind I used the quick save feature bound to F5 heavily. Some might say I abused it. Those people should keep their dirty mouths shut. This game is set up in an episodic zone format, so you play through 3 stages, then arrive at a 4th boss stage, beat the boss, move on to the next episode, rinse and repeat. There are a total of 7 episodes. I will not be showing any of the 7th episode. But I do want to use a little bit of footage from kind of all over the place just to kind of show you the variety of enemy and level design. After finding the portal to the first stage, Astral Equinox, you find that it's a gentle pat on the ass to get you to understand the basics of the game, which did not take for me because I swear to God I did not get good at this game till like 6-7 hours in. Out of this like about maybe 8 to 10 hour game length. It's got a very atmospheric castle church vibe. You start off with the biggest damn axe you'll ever see and look for your first projectile weapon because the axe is just a worthless starter weapon. Wrong. That's dead wrong. I used this weapon in the final episode of the game heavily. One of the biggest mistakes I made was not relying on some of the early weapons more because I assumed they weren't as good. That assumption is wrong. This game has no meme starter pistol from Doom. The axe is great for smaller, weaker mobs in almost every area of the game. Also, just as a note, it's called the Axe of the Black Labyrinth per the wiki. That shit's the tits. At the spawn of the level, I jumped straight down and found a secret area with the Whisper's Edge. This is a sword that creates an arcing projectile that covers a wide range. It's the sword shotgun. The sword shot. Fucking nailed it. Then you're introduced to the Staff of the Azure Orb. This shoots blue pew-pews and is great throughout the game for pesky ranged and flying creatures. It kind of locks onto them. The damage is mad, but it can also keep you out of range of being hit, so you take what you can get. Eventually, after vanquishing enough of mine enemies, I was introduced to soul power. Depending on the weapon, it powers them up by adding homing, increasing the speed or damage of attacks, or, in the case of some of the later weapons, creating a fucking black hole. This first episode was fun and simple. Remember to use the staff to deal with those flying bastards. Episode 2 is more church and ruins type designs, but it introduces more of the platforming in the mix, which you will get more and more of as the game goes on. Get used to walking on narrow platforms while trying to engage in fights. Luckily, there's no fall damage in this game. Praise be to the FPS gods. There are tons of scenarios where I got myself in trouble trying to stay on a platform instead of dropping where I could avoid shots and kill them ahead of time. Don't be dumb like me. Don't try and be an FPS god. Play it smart. Domain of the Sentinels was a great upgrade to the first level, and I had you pushing switches and getting you prepared for what's to come. I'm purposely not showing the bosses for this run, but this boss for this second area was significantly better than the first, and as the game goes on, they definitely get better as time goes on. Remember to check boss rooms for secrets. Actually, check every room for secrets. But especially boss rooms, because they usually have at least a full health and a full helping of mana, which you'll need to stock up on for your weapons, since all of these bosses will require a full arsenal to bring down. At least they did for me on hard difficulty. Now's a good time to finish out showing you the rest of your arsenal. The Voltrite is the weapon I was using in the opening of this video, and it's basically Poseidon's Trident. It's a sniper rifle. It hits from far and it literally can explode your foes from the inside out. If you continue to overkill someone, it will chain to their friends. Fun shit. Also, it can stun lock people, so it's good for single enemy types, assuming they're not, too beefy. Otherwise, you'll just end up wasting a bunch of your blue mana. The Star of Torment was my go-to weapon for a lot of the game, and it took me a while to switch off once it was acquired. I use this a lot. This will pin a mofo to a wall, and it does nice damage considering its low rate of fire. It uses green mana, which is also another plentiful form of mana, so it was one of my go-to weapons the whole game. Celestial Claw is your rocket launcher. It doesn't launch rockets though, it launches whole planets. In fact, this one even can launch the planet Earth. The Soul Mode weapon goes full supernova on this one. It's one of my favorite weapons ever. The idea of this alone makes it noteworthy to me. The last weapon is the Eternum. Yeah, the shots from this appear like giant lightning storms. It essentially acts like your BFG. This is the weapon with the Soul Mode that creates black holes that sucks enemies into them. Very satisfying. Now that we know our weapons, remember these stone block guys should be killed by the Celestial Claw. Very nice, much easy. Don't be too worried about consuming ammo in this game. As long as you do a small amount of exploration, you'll have plenty of mana for all weapon types for most of the game, so long as you don't heavily rely on one type too much. Like me, using all the green mana for the freaking, mace. I won't continue too much detail with every stage, but there's a couple parts I thought were real showstoppers. There's this scene here with this orb. Really cool. I mean, look at this shit. The lighting in this game is pretty spectacular. I just like the diversity of the backdrops. This is about the point where I need to talk about the soundtrack from Andrew Holschult. The tracks in this game land squarely in the heavily atmospheric end of the spectrum. They suit the game setting perfectly, and I was in love. This track is called Time Vacuum. Or listen to a little bit of somber mythology. Even when the tracks are a bit more upbeat, they're still dripping with atmosphere. Whirling Death here kicks it up several notches. The long and short of it is that the soundtrack kicks ass and chews bubblegum. Look, all I'm trying to say is if you're a fan of FPS games, either modern or retro, this game hits the spot. But seriously, fuck this part with a pitchfork.